And these are all the concepts that we gather around the concept of Swissness.
First of all, congratulations on your 40th anniversary.
Thank you very much.
Could you tell us about your organization?
Absolutely. So, first of all, 40 years anniversary is a very important year, I think, given that we were one of the first tourism offices to be open in Japan. And that's a fact that not many people know, actually. We were opened in Japan 2 weeks after Hawaii Tourism Board.
Oh, really?
So one of the first establishments in Japan 40 years ago. So that's an interesting fact that shows you how much important we are in this market. And Switzerland Tourism is simply the national board whose objective is to promote Switzerland as a tourism and business destination. So we have a federal mandate, which is actually also very long-standing. From 1917, we have established our company, which means we are celebrating our 100 years anniversary next year. And that's also quite a big achievement, I believe. We position Switzerland always around different values, such as naturalness, we have quality, authenticity, we have sustainability, and these are all the concepts that we gather around the concept of Swissness, basically. This is our branding.
So what do you think of the relationship between Switzerland and Japan? Have you seen any changes whilst you have been in Japan?
Absolutely. So in terms of tourism, there has been a very big change. My colleagues from other countries can also tell you the same thing. You might actually remember maybe 10 years ago, 20 years ago, when the Japanese were traveling abroad, especially to Europe. It was very much as a group, usually, going on a package tour, everything organized, and they were trying to visit as many places as possible in a short amount of time. Of course, this still exists nowadays, but it has very much shifted towards a more independent traveling, what we call FIT, so free independent traveling. And independent travelers in Japan have now overpassed the amount of group travelers. And this is the first time in the history of Japanese tourism, outbound tourism, that this has happened, at least for Switzerland, Germany, and Austria, for which we have data. So that means that this very strong shift has a very big impact on the way you sell the country and the way you promote the country. The marketing has to be very much shifted towards a more targeted marketing, I would say.
We Japanese have a certain image of Switzerland, such as beautiful mountains or high-quality watches. However, there's more to Switzerland than these kind of things.
You're right.
What do you think of the special fascination of Switzerland?
Yes, and that's one of the work that we are trying to do here also. Of course, the nature is an established image already. The mountains, the cows, and all the stereotypes. Heidi is one of them, also in Japan, very famous. But we don't want to change this, because this is true. And this is why Switzerland is so unique. But we want to show something new also. And we have wonderful, unique value proposition or unique selling points, USPs, that we can show or use in Japan. Especially, I would say architecture is one. And architecture has become on the radar recently because of this famous Swiss-French architect called Le Corbusier. And he's quite famous in Japan because he has some constructions here that he designed himself. He's one of the pioneers of modern architecture. And he's a 20th century architect, so he's quite recent in terms of age. And he's still very famous. And this is an example of how qualitative we can have in terms of architecture design. Swiss design is also very famous. We have had an exhibition last year about Swiss design in Tokyo, which was very successful. There's a lot of companies that are focusing on design, and that actually Japanese experience all the time, but they don't even know it's from Switzerland. We are very much like the Scandinavian design, very minimalistic, pure design. And that's very much a side of Switzerland that not many people know. Also, I would say technology. So the technology is very much something that Swiss people are good for, because we have good research centers, we have good support from the government, also financially, which means that a lot of people come to Switzerland to make research because they have a lot of power and the freedom to do so. So I think these three aspects, design, architecture, and technology, would be something that I would recommend any travelers to look for when they go to Switzerland.
Finally, could you please tell us how the relationship between Switzerland and Japan will be or should be while the world is full of uncertainty?
Switzerland and Japan has commemorated the 150 years anniversary of diplomatic relations back in 2014. So that means that we have a very long history of political relations, economical relations, but also tourism relations, as I was explaining before. We are facing strong challenges these past few months because of the instability in Europe, especially. But I keep repeating the same message. Maybe the media has focused a lot on these events, especially in Japan, I would say. But it doesn't mean that it has happened more than before, actually. If you look at the statistics, it's not unusual kind of amount of uncertainties. So I think it's very important to keep that in mind. And personally, I think that Switzerland still remains one very safe destination. We haven't experienced anything special. And I would say that the people should be more open to think that nowhere in the world you can actually be 100% sure to be okay. So even in your own country, I would say. So I think it's important to not let these events affect your desire to travel, because there's so many beautiful places to see in Europe, and Europe still remains the strongest destination for Japan. And I think that will not change. The history that we have, the culture, all the UNESCO heritage sites that we have, the whole continent. And I think Japanese are really in love with this. And I would really encourage them to continue traveling there.
Okay, thank you.